Alfred Nobel, the king of drugs, and the world's change-taking board. In October of every year, the whole world is eye-catching with the discoveries that have been honorably awarded to Nobel. This award is named after the legendary designer of Sweden, Alfred Nobel, and behind the award is a long story full of blood and tears. King of drugs, Alfred Nobel may not have thought about the legacy or any medal for life if he did not read the book of his own when he was alive. The Meeting of Destiny. Alfred Nobel was born in 1833 in Stockholm, Sweden. His father was a builder. However, the year Alfred passed away was also when his father's business was down to the point of bankruptcy, after several torrential years, but could not overcome. In 1937, Emanuel Nobel decided to bring his family to Finland, and then Russia to find a new opportunity. His factory continuously received equipment contracts for the Russian army, especially during the war that broke out in Russia from 1853 to 1856. Thanks to that, the Nobel family was given the life of a high-class class of property. Emanuel gave his 3 sons all the conditions to develop. They did not have to go to school, but were brought up by famous teachers from the university to teach at home. Among his 4 sons, the 3rd son, Alfred Nobel, was highly rated. At the age of 17, Alfred had 5 progeny names, which are Sweden, Russia, France, Britain, and Germany, because 4 sons would be his apprentices. So when he saw that Alfred was a little bit on the road to art, Emanuel decided to let Alfred go abroad. He was also a professor at the University of Paris, where he studied chemistry. In the next 2 years, Alfred attended a course of training by Professor T.J. Pellos, a famous scientist, and happened to meet a young Italian scientist named Ascanio Soprero. Soprero is the one who invented nitroglycerin, a high-quality chemical. Although it has a greater destructive power than gunpowder, nitroglycerin is now considered too dangerous to use in reality. However, after being exposed to the world, it is still considered a very dangerous chemical. In the next 2 years, he was introduced to nitroglycerin. Alfred Nobel was very interested and constantly thought about ways to use this substance in construction activities. 1. The creation of a new life. In 1852, when orders from the Russian army increased, Emanuel called Alfred Nobel to the country to help manage his family's business. However, the crisis once again hit his family when the war in Russia ended, and the business of Emanuel was forced to close again due to the lack of orders. In that situation, Emanuel decided to leave St. Petersburg with his 2 sons, Alfred and Emil, and return to Stockholm. In the direction of Alfred Nobel, after returning to Sweden in 1863, he focused on developing nitroglycerin. He had to endure the loss of his younger brother Emil, who had not yet achieved any great results after being killed in a nitroglycerin explosion during the trial. After a few explosions, which caused some people at Alfred's laboratory to die, Swedish officials said that the production of nitroglycerin was too dangerous, so they banned the test at Stockholm, forcing Alfred Nobel to transfer the research activities to the railways in Lake Mälaren. After overcoming the pain and not being able to control it, Alfred continued his research, and by 1865, he invented modern explosives with the scent of mercury. In 1867, Nobel accidentally observed the Earth's crust and discovered that the Earth's crust was made of mercury. In 1885, he discovered the Earth's crust was made of mercury. The Earth was made of silicon, a kind of silicon with many holes like the sea foam, nitroglycerin, and this mixture could still explode. But it was much more stable and safer to use. Alfred named the new mixture Dynamite, which means strength, according to dynamite in Greek. Until 1875, Alfred Nobel continued to study. He invented a mixture of nitroglycerin and nitrocellulose, which could withstand water and was stronger than the original dynamite. Until 1865, his company produced many products in Europe, the United States, and the whole of Australia. In total, he opened about 90 factories and laboratories in more than 20 countries around the world. In addition, his wealth also increased exponentially, to the extent that he is described by Victor Hugo as the richest man in Europe at that time. Special girlfriend. In 1876, in a newspaper, a member of the German newspaper the Deutsche Zeitung wrote that a man of many years was educated, rich, and lived in Paris, and asked a middle-aged woman to know a few foreign languages, to be a secretary, and a stewardess. Now, Alfred Nobel is 43 years old. He is one of the richest people in the world in the 19th century, therefore, his hidden secret in his smart eyes. Except for 4 weeks, he still lives alone without a family. His newspaper's reasons are not only his children, but also his family. His newspaper's reasons are not only his children, but also his family. His first person to answer this question is a woman with a high-quality, unique style, who is 30 years old. Her name is Bertha Kinski. When she was making more money to earn a living. When she first met Nobel, Bertha felt an impression of beauty. Nobel is a smart, kind and intelligent person, with a lot of talent, no matter what kind of love he has. Unfortunately, before that, Bertha had someone to give his heart, so when he was asked to give his heart, he said he had accepted all of this with Nobel. After a week of work, Bertha returned to the members to get married to his lover, and Alfred continued to live alone. However, the marriage did not prevent her and Nobel from often giving each other letters. The relationship between her and Nobel has been connected with each other because of a close friendship that lasted until the day of the university. He's watching the video on the channel of the famous. Do not forget to like and share this video to support his channel. The God of Death. In 1888, on a trip to Cannes, Alfred's younger brother died suddenly. The story will have nothing to say, and the Nobel Prize may not have appeared, without a French newspaper mistakenly claiming that the dead man was Alfred and publishing his accusation. In the accusation, the newspaper on the accusation of Alfred was very serious, because he had invented the drug No, which was used to kill the dead man. The French newspaper was very serious about the accusation. Public objection. Products such as drugs, AI in this film, and the full meaning was that he had invented drugs. Alfred was called the master of the hashash. Professor Alfred Nobel. You have had an excited stomach, a lot of finding ways to emperor unseen. More repentant. Just yesterday he died, after returning to his Lord's shoe. A club and a bar called Swedish Norwegian in Paris, France. He wrote his own book and was proven by 4 men who were there. Of the more than 400 papers, in addition to the wishes for relatives and employees. He wants the rest to be invested in a community fund with the principle that the money is given in a year-long lottery for those who have real contributions to mankind last year. In 1894, 6 years after the British were born, Alfred bought the Duke Boros factory, which later he developed into a legendary gun factory, still exists today. Both as the director and the main shareholder of the factory, Alfred Nobel earned a lot of money until December 10, 1896. He passed away in Italy. His will, when it was announced later, the whole world was surprised. A strange will. According to the book, after sharing some of his assets with relatives and close friends, Nobel declared to leave 94% of his total assets, equivalent to 31.2250 krona, equivalent to 199 million USD at the present time, to give prizes to those who have contributions that bring the greatest benefit to mankind in previous years. Nobel Prizes include physics, chemistry, medicine, literature, and peace. At that time, the huge amount of money was not enough to buy the Duke, but the great contribution of the Duke to science and charity was unimaginable. Therefore, the plan of Alfred Nobel was forced to first restrict the Duke's family. They knew nothing about the wealth of the rich. In addition, Alfred's idea also caused some problems in other matters of politics and law. But then the World Congress took place in Greece in 1896, making it easy for the world to be a common family, and needed to honor those who have great contributions to mankind. This event became an opportunity to quickly complete the Nobel Prize, to carry out the noble wish that Alfred Nobel had foretold. 5 years later, in 1901, the first Nobel Prize was awarded in Sweden and Norway. Since then, there have been nearly 600 awards awarded to more than 900 individuals or organizations. Why not have a Nobel Prize in mathematics? The reason why many people believe in the emptiness of the Nobel Prize in mathematics is because there is a hypothesis that Nobel simply did not pay attention to mathematics, because this is a completely theoretical science. Nobel may say that mathematics does not bring any specific benefit to mankind. In addition, at the time of Nobel's inauguration, there was a famous Nobel Prize in mathematics, the the Scandinavian Prize, and maybe Nobel wanted to spend his money on other fields. There is no evidence yet to convince or explain the emptiness of the Nobel Prize in mathematics. Where is the Nobel Prize in economics from? The full name of this award is the Nobel Prize in Economics of the Bank of Sweden, to commemorate Alfred Nobel. The prize was established in 1968, on the occasion of the 300th anniversary of the founding of the Central Bank of Sweden. The Nobel Prize in Economics was not created by Nobel. The money was not taken from the money he left. However, the Nobel Prize in Economics was also announced at the same time as other Nobel Prizes, and handed out at the same ceremony in Stockholm, Sweden. Until now, people still believe that Nobel Prize in Economics is a gift from the Commonwealth of States. Until now, it is still believed that the High Court of the French newspaper has awakened another person inside Nobel, making him a living treasure left behind by a legacy of meaning for society. Although there are many different opinions on the way of sorting, as well as about the writers who are taught in this country and other countries, but those who are awarded the Nobel Prize are all Soviet people with great contributions to the happiness of mankind. These values originate from the great, noble and noble qualities of Alfred Nobel, the scholar, entrepreneur of peace and development. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel.